built on relationships, focused on people, and rooted in the community. Welcome to the Build Blue podcast. Tune in for weekly episodes featuring guests who are building a better tomorrow. You'll hear inspiring stories from industry leaders, business owners, community partners, and our team members. The Build Blue podcast, where construction comes to life. An Apex Construction Group production. Welcome to the Build Blue podcast. My name is Jess Blaze with Apex Construction Group, and we are here with Jessica Freitag, with the owner of Lush Cakes, and we're so excited to be talking to you as you are expanding into the Mankato market. Currently, your location is in Waseca.
Correct, yeah.
And so we're going to get into your decision to expand and some other fun things, but let's start with our Apex icebreaker. We ask everyone this question: what was your very first job? Like, I'm talking all the way back, the first time someone paid you for your time and your work.
And I almost don't remember doing this. It was so short-lived. It makes sense. I was a waitress at a very small cafe in town. I think I lasted 2 or 3 shifts before he said, yeah, no.
This isn't working.
And I was in high school. It wasn't good. I didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, but it all came back around, I guess.
It's kind of serendipitous to consider what you do now.
Yeah, so I had no idea that, this is where I would end up.
I love that. So let's learn a little bit more about you, Jessica. Tell us about yourself and your background.
From this area, grew up around Mankato, my background.
Yeah,
sorry,
that's totally fine. Let's talk so you graduate from high school in the area, and then off to college. Did you know what you wanted to do? Did you have a vision to become a baker? Where did you go to school?
Originally, I was almost signed up to go to nursing school. That's what I was gonna do, and there was a girl I went to high school with that told me she was going to culinary school, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's great. I'm gonna do that. And so the next week we went and looked at a culinary school and I signed up. That was it.
Wow.
So it was just a super short notice, last minute change, and I don't know that my parents were super thrilled about it, and I was signed up in that fall. I started at Le Cordon Bleu in the cities, in Mendota Heights. 1-year program, learned the basics of cooking, and off to cooking in the real world I went. So
That's funny. I actually went to Brown College in the same building.
Yes, yep.
What year did you go to Le Cordon Bleu?
It would have been 2000 I graduated high school.
Okay.
So yep.
That's so funny. I was there very shortly after that.
Yes, so it was 1-year program, and that was it.
Off you go.
Off I was cooking.
So out of college, did you go straight to baking?
No, years it took to do that. Did a little bit of everything. Worked in hotels, worked in restaurants, bartending, cooking, banquets and events. Kind of did a little bit of everything, not realizing that it was all adding up to experience all over. And then took a position as a waitress at an Italian restaurant, and they were looking for a pastry chef. My mom used to make our birthday cakes growing up, so I had a strong baking background at home, but never professionally. And so I took that position, and that was pretty much the end of anything else. I started baking professionally ever since then.
And fell in love with it and found out that you're very good at it.
Yes. I learned a ton from my first boss. That was Leah with D'Amico's up in the cities. And I just knew that's what I wanted to do. And I had no interest in going back to cooking, waitressing, any of that. So,
did you develop a knack right away? And forgive me if I'm getting this all twisted. So there's baking, the cakes and the pastries, and then there's the decorating piece, and you excel at both of those.
And definitely had more experience baking in the beginning.
Okay.
Years of doing that. It was more restaurant desserts then, so it was nice plated desserts. Not so much the cake side of things, until I moved back here to Mankato and started working for some restaurants, but they also did some catering. So that's when I started to dabble into the cakes. We had an old cake recipe we'd been making since I was about 12 at home. So I busted that out, and that's kind of the beginning of all of the Lush Cakes recipes and where it all began.
Oh, wow.
So
is that still the base for the Lush Cakes recipes?
Yes, that is the base. It's the chocolate cake, and all of our flavors come from that original recipe. Came out of an old church cookbook from, I think, either Iowa or Nebraska, that my mom had. And I've just adapted it and changed the recipe over the years for new flavors, and that's why unique and different than a lot of other cake makers in the area. It's just an old-fashioned recipe and one that's been played with a lot.
Those are the best kinds. So Lush Cakes, when you started your own business, did you start with the brick and mortar bakery right away, or were you doing, let's talk about kind of how Lush Cakes came to be.
So I started it out of my house. I was working as a pastry chef here in Mankato at number 4, Tap on the Avdinos, those restaurants for almost 10 years at that point. And the cottage law passed in Minnesota, so you could bake legally out of your house as a registered baker. So I started that really thinking, what's gonna happen? Now I can just legally make these cakes for friends and family. Maybe I'll do a few weddings. I loved making wedding cakes. And within that first full year after that, I was at max capacity when I was allowed to make out of the house. So I don't know if it was a shortage of wedding bakers in the area or good pictures on social media. I don't know what it was, but yeah, it was fast. Boom, I was full, and then we were forced to go to a commercial space from there because they wouldn't let me do it out of my house anymore. So.
And what year was that?
2017 is when I opened, so 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, and then early 2019, I was renting commercial space looking for what is our Waseca location now. So then we found that, and now it's almost 4 years later.
Wow, and the Waseca location goes beyond just the baked goods.
So we also have coffee. We serve dogwood coffee out of Minneapolis, so it's delicious. And we have lunch. We also do breakfast pastries, so it's more of like a bistro cafe than just cakes. But then we have all of the sweets on the counter too. You can come in and get something any day. There's cupcakes, macarons, cookies, bars, all the good sweets, all the stuff. And in fact, I actually have a box of stuff for you guys downstairs that I forgot in my car.
Oh,
so.
you're the best. I'm going to be very popular today.
Yes.
You said you loved doing wedding cakes. Do you still? And do you have a favorite wedding cake that you've ever created?
Yes, to all of those. I still love the wedding cakes. That's why I started Lush Cakes. I loved making the fancy wedding cakes. And I love setting up the display. When I go to set up the wedding and put the cake up and put all the pretty desserts out and take the picture, that's my favorite part, when I get to see all of the final product and make it pretty. More than the baking, the making everything pretty, and the frosting is my favorite now, after all these years. And favorite wedding cake, there's so many. They're so pretty. And everyone, even if I do the same style over and over, it's always a little different with the flowers or the topper or their decorations in the background. So I just love how different they all are too.
Yeah.
So
what are I've been married a long time, so I don't know what the trends are when it comes to cakes. So what are you having our modern brides requesting when it comes to their wedding cake?
Simple. We've kind of gone away from the fondant and like super decorated cakes, and now everything's just really simple buttercream with fresh flowers, or it's just really elegant and simple and pretty. So that's been the trend now for a few years. So I'm interested to see what's coming.
Yes, it's always fun to see new things.
Right, exactly.
I remember like when cake pops became really popular, and then it was cupcakes were trendy. Trend feels like a weird word to use for baked goods, but do you see anything that's up and coming?
For us, honestly, it's still the macarons. People just go bonkers for them, and then there's just not a lot of places to get them. So we still see people coming in that are like, oh my goodness, I've never gone anywhere that's had them. So it's still new to people. We sell a lot of macarons.
And they're delicious.
That is a huge seller. You would think cupcakes would be like an old trend by now, but we still sell a ton of cupcakes too. So we are experimenting with some like mac pops, where we're turning macarons into little, like kind of like a cake pop, but kind of a macaron. So that's our new thing we're working on.
That's fun.
Yes. Let's see, and the other thing in store, cake cups. We smush cake and frosting in a cup. Usually it's all of our trimmings from doing cakes, and we can't keep them on the counter. I don't know what it is about smushed cake in a cup that people are like, yep, sign me up, give me a fork.
I'm picturing like the edge of the cake when you cut it?
Yep.
Kind of what's...
We cut off the top to level it,
Sure.
and so that we can use it,
Yep.
use all the pieces, and we put it in a cup with all of our different frostings that
Yep.
we're using that day. Yeah, people just see that and the layers of, it's kind of like a trifle, but in a cup for just you.
Yum.
Yeah, so those will be coming to Mankato too,
Okay.
because people just buy them like crazy.
Well, it sounds amazing.
It's not.
So let's talk about the Mankato location. Tell us about your decision to expand into Mankato.
Yeah, so I've worked in Mankato for years. I've worked with a lot of the women-owned like small businesses in town doing pop-ups and things like that. So I've always known if Waseca did well enough, that Mankato would be where we would want to add a location just from working here for years. A lot of friends live in town here, so this was always the goal, that we would kind of have a second location here, so or a location here. So yeah, it was always just on my mind, and every time we would start looking into it and say, oh no, this isn't the right time, my husband and I would say no, and then a week later I'd start sending him listings again for different spots that were available. So he knew that if he was gonna
It was
stop
inevitable.
getting things constantly messaged to him, that we'd have to just start looking. So and here we are. It just it was just the right place at the right time, and we're almost there. We're almost getting almost open, yes.
And you found a beautiful spot in Old Town,
Mhm.
which is such an exciting part of Mankato,
Yes.
with all of the local businesses,
Mhm.
and it's really just developed its own heartbeat, and
Yes.
it's such an exciting spot. So this episode, as of recording, you're close. I'm guessing
Mhm.
by the time this airs, you may be there. Do you have an open date kind of slated that you can share, or?
We're hoping for mid-September.
Okay.
My oven is supposed to ship this a week. It's like 5 weeks late at this point.
Oh.
So fingers crossed, I'll believe it when I see it. But it's supposed to ship. So that's our most crucial
Sure.
piece is the oven.
Kind of
So
important.
very important part of baking. So once that ships and is in the store, we'll probably put a date out for mid-September.
Okay.
So fingers crossed.
Yeah,
We're almost
fingers
there.
crossed. Will you split your time between the stores, or do you have a
Mhm.
team that will be here in Mankato as well?
I have hired some great people already, super excited. So I'm gonna split my time between both, probably more so Mankato to start, to get them up and running, get
Yep.
things smoothed over a little bit. My staff in Waseca is great. They're ready to rock. So they'll be fine, but I do plan on kind of going between the two,
Mhm.
and just trying to see as much as possible and figure this out now with 2 locations.
Yeah.
So
Will the offerings in Mankato be similar to what you offer in Waseca?
yes, so we're gonna do the same menu at both stores. So we just started a new website, just got it up and running a week or 2 ago. So all of the desserts that we're gonna carry that week will be listed on the website, so you can go on there. It'll be for both stores. Our lunch menu's on there, coffee menu. For my sanity, I decided that it was best to probably just have the same menu at both locations versus trying to do multiple things at each one. So, and that way it's consistent. You know, when you come to Mankato and Waseca, it's going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, what else? This is all just so exciting, and everything that you make is so beautiful, and it tastes good, which isn't always the case. Like sometimes things look really pretty, and then you take a bite and you're like,
yeah,
it was prettier in the case, but you just have nailed it. Do you think that recipe is what sets you apart? Is there anything else, like maybe some intangibles?
I do think it is that it's pretty and it's delicious. Like our cupcakes, they're pretty, but they're really good.
Yeah.
I've tried a lot of cupcakes, and every time I come back to her, it's like, gosh, I like ours better. So, not that there aren't a lot of good ones out there. So I think that's what sets us apart, just how pretty and delicious everything is, and kind of everything we do is like that. We just want things to be a little fancy and pretty.
It makes it special.
Yes, and we have a lot of women that come in and get together that haven't seen each other for a while in our store, so that they can sit there for hours and chat and have their pretty desserts and their fancy coffee. Like, that's so fun when you walk out and see the whole dining room full of people catching up and having fancy little treats, and they're always so happy when they leave. I think that's a big part of it too, is like pretty and delicious desserts make people happy. So it's happiness.
I love it. You have been actively involved with several nonprofits in the area. Let's talk about that and just the importance of being involved in the communities that you're in.
Yes, we're doing the Desserts for Fire and Ice, so a few years in a row now. We've been doing that, love being a part of that group. I also joined another nonprofit on the board. It's called Together on Memories. It's more on the Waseca side location. So I'm helping with that, doing their events, and just trying to get therapy to children, which is super important right now. So I just feel the constant need to do whatever I can to help wherever I can. So if it's that little bit that I can help them put things together as the event coordinator, I feel like I'm in a really good spot in life. I'm happy, my family's happy and healthy, so anything I can do to help other people get there, that's my job.
Good for you. I'm sure you've learned a lot along the way from your experience in restaurants and now being an entrepreneur. Is there anything that you would share, maybe advice or just some wisdom with other young entrepreneurs who are kind of trying to find their way?
Don't give up. A lot of people, gave me the look and really, are you really gonna do that? Even now, with the second location, really? Yeah, do it. If you feel like that's what you're supposed to do, things will line up, that things will work out, and just keep going.
Oh, beautiful. Is there anything you'd like to add, Jessica, about your new location? Let's give people details on where they can find you. Social media, website, and then both locations.
Yes, so website is lushcakesmn.com. On Facebook and Instagram, posting all kinds of cake pictures all the time. And then our Waseca location is right on Highway 13, and we'll be in downtown Mankato in Old Town mid-September.
Soon, very soon. Oh, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Has been delightful.
Okay.
You will put links to your social media and website here in the show notes. And you can listen to the Build Blue podcast anywhere you get your podcast, and we're on YouTube as well. We'll see you next week.